A local farmer had called to share that Archie had been killed early that morning on his bicycle by a delivery van driver whilst crossing the road to his cottage lane. It appeared that years of hearing neglect had caught up with him, for he did not hear the vehicle come round the bend from behind. Locals sensationalized events by recounting he lay contorted with a ripped face on the tarmac, surrounded by his potatoes, carrots and onions, just bought from the local shop. 10 days later, my dad received a phone call from a woman claiming to be Archie's sister. Archie had no debt, nothing of value, no emotional attachment, she said, his only living family member. A past hobo who had now settled, contented to live in his independent small world. His sister asked if my dad would front the clearance of the cottage. Of course, Dad said yes. The following weekend, Dad entered the unlocked cottage to be confronted by a familiar, musty smell. There was a multi-purpose solid square table in the middle of the living room, covered with a heavily stained and discolored oilcloth tablecloth, yellow with smoke from years of rolled tobacco. And yet, the William Morris pattern whispered out from within, "Look at me and my floral design." Spread across the table, there was an unopened tin of cat food, a stale loaf, a jar of lime marmalade, a couple of dirty glasses, a Robert Burns book of selected poems, and an old dog-eared motorcycle magazine. Taking in the majority of Saturday and Sunday, the cottage was cleared with the help of several of Dad's drinking friends and a couple of tractors and trailers for transportation. With the cottage complete, that just left the outhouse, which was larger than you would expect for the size of Archie's cottage. The outhouse double doors were held together by a couple of bent bolts linked through a large rusty latch. The doors were heavy and warped from years of unforgiving weather, but Dad wrenched them open all the same. On entry, the smell of birch logs and sawdust mingled with the odor of workshop oil and tools. An ancient Castrol GTX oil can sat on oily rags on top of a small workbench, which had a small vise clinging to it. A variety of well-worn tools were peppered around the walls, hanging on large masonry nails. Dad advanced to the end of the outhouse, where a ragged green tarpaulin was draped. He dragged it away carefully to expose a stunning Triumph Trophy 250cc motorcycle, which in the fading light still showed itself off with a ruby red tank, black upholstery and suspension, gleaming silver engine, exhaust and wire-spoked wheels. Although incomplete, allowing for the small amount of parts lying on the floor, Dad thought, for the man with no debt and nothing of value, this was a triumph in more ways than one. As a mark of respect, Dad ensured the motorcycle was given an appreciative home. With the agreement of Archie's sister, he arranged for its entry into a motorcycle museum 15 miles away. The legacy of a lonesome man. Thanks, George.
Well done.
It's quite lengthy. I'm sorry.
Well, you took us there. It was very engrossing and very descriptive. Well done. Don't be sorry. I enjoyed it, and I think we all did. Actually, I was looking at people's faces. People were on that journey with you, Norman. Thank you.
Okay,
and we've been joined now by Gina. Welcome, Gina. Hi. And also Steve's joined us, and Martin and Ted. So I think we're all on board now. That's very good. Gina, I put you near the end because I wasn't sure were your commitments when you'd come along. So, okay. So you'd have to...
It's fine. I'm not really sure what's expected of me at the minute. I don't
well, just enjoy yourself. I mean, I love this. It's, so the poets are so different, and we have a nice time. So that's it. We just read our poems. That's all, and have a little chat halfway through. Okay. Who have we got? Ruth. Are you ready, Ruth?
I'm with
Lovely.
you. Just unmuted myself.
Yeah, I'm going to mute now.
So the first poem's called Andrea. The quiet one, the middle child, who always said yes and no contention. So gentle, an aunt once said, she'd not let the wind blow on anyone. The same aunt who comforted her when Vera died, the same wind that howled in her face when she couldn't abide to say the word mother while reading aloud. And how did it feel when her father found a mate, causing the scattering that sent one sister to live abroad and the other into a hasty marriage? And what mischance when she met him, cock of the walk in that coastal town, fisherman, mender of boats, known in the pubs as mouthy, up for a fight. She was his bounty, a wedding her father did not attend, the birth of a son and her distress. Oh, Andrea's with the fairies. And it's true that she often behaved bizarrely. And this was the start. Money was lent, and she lived some kind of life with relapses. At times she believed she was an African princess. At others, she'd scarcely moved for the languor she felt. Lithium, taken when she remembered it, face to face where she told lies. Another incident when she was dragged down steps by her hair. In delirious moments, she spent and spent, allowed the bath to overrun in a hotel, causing a flood, was helicoptered from a cruise ship when she prized up flooring. And now all's done and no excitement. The dose is exact. Old tunes are played. She has a scrapbook from her younger days and turns the pages in wonderment. All right. And the second one is shopping trip. I whined, I dragged my feet, but they put on their coats and breezed to the bus stop, my mother and grandmother, with me in tow. The journey took us past roads where I could have been rolling marbles along the gutter or playing knock down ginger if the coast was clear. No one else had to drag round the shops for no reason or walk down Surrey Street, queuing at stalls where Gran squeezed the fruit. We lunched at Kennard's, entertained by a gypsy trio, plump ladies, each in a black sequin dress, one playing the piano, another the violin. When I found a boiled caterpillar in my greens, Gran told me to push it aside and not make a fuss. It showed they were fresh, homegrown. As they spooned their tinned fruit salad, my mother and grandmother gazed around, making personal remarks. When I yawned, I was told to cover my mouth. I became bitter and bored, and the promise of chocolate ice cream was a sop when I thought of all I'd endured. As we left the store, models looked coldly from their plinths, and I was shooed from the shallow platform where I sat because I was tired. But the arcade was almost worth the pain. Animal smells, Queenie the cockatoo shuffling sideways on her perch, and the donkeys clopping along mosaic in the throughway between stores, bowing their heads, snorting, taking the odd nip, and the monkeys going down our bags. Right, that's it.
Wonderful, Ruth. Two great poems. That first one, about bipolar disorder, it was very, very moving. Thank you. And very accurate. It's a wonderful poem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gina, I need to explain to you that Peter records these sessions and they're put on YouTube and we can watch them back later. Do you mind that being on YouTube? Is that okay? All right, that's great. Just do this if it's okay. Right. Now we're going to move on to who we got next. I think it's Jim. Now this is a man who always makes me smile, and most people smile. It's Jim. Good evening, Jim.
Good evening. In a poetry class, we were given a number of titles, and we chose one. And I saw a title which was "What Shall We Call You?" And it reminded me of the time that my mother, when I was born, told my father to call me Jim at the registry office, not James. And he went along and he was told by the official, no, James, Jim is a nickname, it has to be James. So he came back and says, it's called James. And my mother sort of hit the roof. Yeah, and she's one of the people who sort of said, hey, what was it? Oh, I forget what she said. Oh, home, James, and don't spare the horses and stuff like that. What shall we call you? Call me often, call me easy, call me sexy, call me sleazy, call me leather, call me Sadie, call me Tuesday, call me crazy, call me which way, call me troubles, call me cauldron, call me bubbles, call me hungry, call me gaunt, call me toothsome, call me flaunt, call me diver, call me muff, call me headcase, call me fluff, call me Billy, call me Bud, call me Ishmael, call me stud. Call me Ahab, call me sick, call me Moby, call me Dick, call me Dewdrop, call me funny, call me dipstick, call me honey, call me has-been, call me beauty, call me drag queen, call me cutie, call me Hank, call me pretty, call me no job, call me witty, call me dollar, call me dime, call me mouthwash, call me slime, call me bonehead, call me brains, call me Jim, but don't call me James. Thank you.
Brilliant.
Another classic.
That's
Fantastic.
a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I'll read another one in the next session.
Oh, okay, James. Sorry, Jim. I slipped that one in.
It's been done before, actually.
Has it? Oh, okay. Now, not James, but Jane. Jane, how are you? You're muted.
Yes, I'm very
Yeah.
well, thank you.
Good. Ready to listen to you every time, Jane. So where you go.
Thank you. I've got two very short ones. Recently, as in the last year, I've been forgetting my dreams. I don't know whether any of you experience that. You wake up and you can't remember what you dreamt. So it bothered me, and I wrote dreams I used to remember. I used to remember my dreams, every twist, every turn, every detail, the who, the where, the why of each night's sojourn, where images appeared, but fleetingly, yet powerful enough to fix their imprints on my consciousness, leaving me exhausted from activities not initiated, yet fully embraced by me. I would spend waking hours ruminating on the meaning of such nocturnal journeys, to little or no avail. Yes, I used to remember my dreams, recurring ones with predictable outcomes, the ones which seemed to put me in control. Now, alas, I dream only to glimpse blank canvases where images stubbornly slip from my grasp, as the parasitic teeth of aging gnaw at my powers of remembering, propelling my gray cells headlong into dust and ashes, life's inevitable final stage. Striving in vain to capture those dreams, to recapture those dreams, I have turned to daydreaming instead.
That's nice.
And this one's called Waiting. We have been sitting here in the dark, waiting for the dawn to lift our burdens and roll away our pain. But we have waited far too long, and so suffer the heartburn of undigested hope, of undreamed dreams. Instead of dawn, inertia has come, creeping in, put close upon by paralysis, both fat and sleek from our misery. although they say the darkest hours before the dawn, good things come to those who wait, and joy cometh in the morning. We will wait no more, but rise to meet the dawn, clear-eyed and unafraid, to reclaim the dignity and justice that is so rightly ours.
Oh, Jane, wonderful.
Amen.
Inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice. Okay, now we're going to move to another wonderful poet, Martin. Good evening, Martin. You
Don't
still
seem to be working. Right, yeah,
Oh,
I've done.
Yeah, you're going now. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody.
Evening, Martin.
Good evening. I'm going to read a couple from the one book I've managed to produce. So the first one is Perchance to Dream. The solitary sleep less disturbed, according to a recent survey. That was recent when I wrote the poem. The single sleeper, islanded in seas of dream, floats wisely on his pillow night by night. No foot dare swirl the flow of cool meltwater stream across a mental plane, and purest white are all his thoughts and sheets. Would it were otherwise, wry castaways observe, incontinent content, no islands prize like warmth of breath, fine skin and nerve. Long live all restless pairing, twin-bedded middle age, body refreshed but heart despairing, would be too desolate a hermitage. I chose that before we had one on dreams. Anyway, by chance. I did a few about some of my favourite trees. So this is one called Lombardy poplar. For those who are interested in the Latin, it's Populus ex nigra cultivar italica. You may remember them. Lofty eunuch, vertical in green and black, your legions march in ranks, straight as arrows and Roman roads. Alien conqueror, aloof from native trees, with steepling growth, but sexless, childless, yet with endless offspring. Towering over treeless plains, you rule unchallenged, untroubled by the wind's caress or fury. Your brief spans of dominance overlap by an unfailing policy, divide and conquer. And I'd like to read from my favourite poet, Richard Wilbur, from a rather battered book which I bought many years ago, falling to bits. This poem is called Next Door. The home for the aged opens its windows in May, and the stale voices of winter long flap from their dusty curtains toward our wood, that now with robin's song rouses and is regaled. Promptly the trees break bud and startle into leaf, blotting the old from sight, while all the birds repeal the winter's grief, pitilessly resolving every sigh or quaver to a chipper trill, and snaring the sick cough within the rapt beat of the flicker's bill. Must we not see or hear these worn and frail? They are such hearts for all we know, as will not cheat the world of their regard, even as they let it go. Seated perhaps along a shady porch in the calm wicker stalls of age, old crones and played-out cronies, they project upon a cloudy stage gossip of strongman, dancer, priest, and all they knew who had the gift of life. Artist and lover, soul and bitch and happy life, lying on as recollection fails, until for their enchanted souls the players are forgotten, and they see only such naked roles as David was or Helen, and invent out of their fabulous memories Alcestis climbing home again with big death-bullying Heracles. Is it like this? We have no way to know. Our lawn is loud with girls and boys. The leaves are full and busy with the sun. The birds make too much noise. Thank you.
Classical as ever, Martin. Thank you. The popular poem struck a chord with me. I remember in the 60s driving down to Spain, and in the south of France in the evening, there was rows and rows of poplar trees, and it was like a strobe light on your eyes. It almost sent you into an epileptic fit because it was black, white, black, white, black, white. You know, the trees went on for miles. But the lovely poem. Thank you.
They're all planted very regularly in rows, you know.
Yes, they do. Yeah, they go on for a long time. Now, Mr. Juna, Steve, where are you?
I'm here. Thank you.
Very good. Can we hear from you?
Sure. This one's called Sunrise. As the sun rises in the east, its majestic illumination engulfs the sky. A beautiful portrait of sunset beckons, and the whole sky is taken over by its importance. I like the sunset. It reflects on us this great wonder and perfection. The sun, with its cooling agent, now settles down, and for time being seems to be enjoying this time of less outpouring. The skies wander in its great overtaking, and this image now becomes the reality of what dreams are made of. Keep on prospering the way you do, our son, and as we indulge in its presence, we see and watch what the morrow may bring. And this one is called Tin Drinks. We thirst, we drink. We thirst for drink, and the opening of tin drinks commences. Lucozade, Coca-Cola, and 7-Up goes down so desirably as our quench for thirst is satisfied. The immediate action of a tin of drink dispels in a flesh of thirst which we no longer have. Playing football with my friends when young, after football mesmerizing, we go to the off licenses and buy a bottle of Coke, which in no second flat is devoured and bringing us back to life. The fizziness and adventurousness delights us in more ways than one. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Steve. We'd certainly like to see a bit more of that sun, though, wouldn't we?
Totally.
Yeah. Now we're going to move to another Steve, who's a gentleman. I don't know whether we're going to ancient Rome or Georgian Britain or wherever. Evening, Steve.
Evening, everyone. Thanks, George. Ancient Rome and contemporary England, or rather 1960s England, is the destination, certainly for the first poem. I'm kind of tweaking, editing a collection that's a couple of years old on Ovid, and this first poem compares Ovid with his wit with Ted Hughes, who rewrote Ovid's Metamorphoses, but in a somewhat more dour version than the original Ovid's, or certainly the Ovid's version that was translated by John Dryden, which is full of wit. So this one is kind of about that. And there is a kind of footnote that says, I'm very fond of much of Hughes's work, but reverence for past greats in poetry is always grated, especially coming from an art history background, where new artists would regularly attack previous generations, no matter how good they were. And where is Ovid's wit in Hughes? It's down a pit, a disused mine, amongst his Yorkshire seriousness. Thus we get a dread confusion, not originating here. Romantic seriousness bears the brunt of blame, but both mistake a downers for thoughtfulness. The first is fine in small amounts, but withers with no wit about. And thoughtfulness is like a tree. It needs the earth, but also air that breathes in Ovid's poetry. Without them both are branches bare of leaves, of course, and just as spring refreshes life, so Ovid is with all his life more live than Hughes with all his woes. And while I'm on the subject of the Yorkshire man, a current star was heard to say, Hughes gave permission, write this way. Permission, what the verse is that? Must poets sit at front of class and raise their hands with all their might to ask permission? Can I Write? This next poem is about writing in a particular style, tetrameter or 4-beat lines. Dryden, who translated Ovid, wrote in pentameter, 5-beat lines. But I used to be a drummer, and all the songs that I used to play drums to were kind of 4/4 or 4-beat time. So this is a kind of homage to 4-beat time. 5-beat lines are part of the past. This is now, so these are 4. I'm fascinated by the patterns Marlowe played within his lines. To illustrate, I've taken lines, the first 2 from this verse of mine, and broken each in half, and so the sounds in A will resonate inside itself, the same with B and C and D. So A as E, these 5-beat lines, and P as P are part of the past. C and S as this is now, and D and O, so these are 4. But more than this, the S is present overall and echoes in the line below. With fascinated, 5-beat lines do this and more. The central beat, that's number 3, can be in A as well as B or C or D, a trunk to further complicate the rhythmic pattern and the rhyme. And yes, of course, there is much more, too much for me to understand. And this is why I'll stick to 4. Thank you.
You don't need a set of drums to have rhythm, do you? Well done, Steve. Thank you very much. That's wonderful. Lovely, loved it. Now, here is someone who's always on song and always at the right time and always in touch with nature and with things around us. It's Vivian. Good evening, Vivian.
Good evening. Good evening. Well, one of my poems is to do with nature and one is not. There are just a couple of poems I wrote earlier this week. They're hot off the press. They haven't been aired at all. They're probably a bit rough around the edges, but I'll give them both a go. They're both quite short. First one is called Rain. Rain, rain, go away. Come again another day. So now we can go out to play. Rain, rain, disappear up into the atmosphere. You should not fall this time of year. Rain, rain, will you please stop? I hear you hammering on my rooftop, running down the windows, drop by drop. Are you ceasing your onslaught yet? You'll be a while, I shall bet. In the meantime, I will pine, I will fret. If I go out, I shall get wet. Do you know what? I think I will anyway. Okay. That was my first one. The second one's connected. I'm a bit of a steam train buff, and this one's to do with the closure of the railways back in 1960s when I was tiny. And I've called it Beyond Recall. No longer will we see trains running along the embankment, under bridges, to stop at stations long forgotten. Covered by foliage, reclaimed by nature, railway architecture hidden in dense undergrowth. Only the most dedicated will find them, armed with maps, compasses, determination to keep the railway flag flying. Tunnels, cuttings, level crossings are all there to be seen. Historical relics lying abandoned in hedges. They are ghosts of the past, a reminder of what was once an area of bustling activity, now slowly being obliterated. Fields, houses, and industrial estates replace where trains once ran. Structures torn away, gone forever, beyond recall. They call it progress. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you. You're always a spot on with your observations, Vivian. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now,
Thank you.
here is a gentleman who I wouldn't You know, if I had money, I'd probably bet there'd be a poem about the election or Boris or something like that. Good evening, Mohammed. You're muted, Mohammed. And I can see you, but I can't hear you. Right, hi.
Oh, good evening. Good evening. I was just making fast after a day of.
Oh, yes, of course.
I shall carry on my meal after my recitation.
Right.
Nice to see you all. Hail, hail, the 1st of May, oh, for it is the first summer's day, oh. Cast your cares and fears away to the old horse on the 1st of May. That's it. Because I haven't learned the whole thing. I just stumbled upon it, but it's a lovely song. Election result. Whoever gets elected, may they not fail. For we are all affected and made to seem pale. The local seats are up for grab. Whose lucky star will make things fab? I want some meals for my brood, their fates to seal, for now, for good. I have a wish for those I chose, their bearing finesse, a deep red rose. Whoever shines through has got to act, to pull us through, and that's a fact. I dance alone with wife and kids to throw a bone from under eyelids. I crave foreign aid, boxes of food, to open floodgates, intentions good. I sing in a chorus of many bruised heads, many and brains be not dead. The ballot papers made me dream away. Please no cases that make days gray. When it comes to power, let common sense reign, with smarts that tower, not a shot brain. Okay, and this one is in response to this bloke on social media who said, I'm attacking religion, not you personally. So, as I wrote this, personal attack. I do not insult you, merely your religion. I take off the feathers, but leave alone religion. My friends and I find scathing expressions, and when we're through, you're done with sessions. I do not mock you, merely your faith. Your being is safe, but mind your wraith. I bug you not, merely your practice. I'm devil incarnate, but not your iblis. Mind not my jibes, they're meant for Islam. I merely shake your tree, but mean you no harm. Thank you.
And well put, Mohammed. Yeah, enjoy your breaking your fast. And what a wonderful discipline.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Now, here is a lady who is always lyrical, and it's Lorraine. Good evening, Lorraine.
Unmute.
Yes,
By
you're
the way,
unmuted.
I've had one of my CPNs wave, thank goodness. I'm waiting for the next one's verdict. I don't know. But this is nothing to do with that. This is called The New Normal. It didn't really work ear to ear on the phone. They were used to hearing the groan and the moan. The physio team really wanted to see how the drama played out, even if the final scene roused an all-out vote for gout. Nothing rose about an odd bruise or mentioned the feeling of tightening of screws. Or was there a sense of the joints and the ligaments coming loose? Maybe it was an itch or a recurring stitch. Does it sear? Does it burn? Does it sting? Is it sore? Are you able to kneel down on your knees on the floor? But now you're the protagonist. Practice your lines and round up your props. You're alone on the stage, tongue-tied, scared, till the curtain drops. Try to shine brightly as a night star, entertaining a medic's matinee while they exchange diagnoses and update you of your epiphany. No way could you whinge, cringe, or explain a pain to a voice down the line. That all changed when the physiotherapists decided Zoom would be fine. You won't have to stand in the all together and describe your current issue. Your peers have suggested exactly all you ever need to do. A half-baked gingerbread woman or man aren't shy or demure. Bent and twisted, they silently expose their tibia, fibula, or femur. Of course, you could resort to a dressmaker's dummy or a wooden marionette, but more economic substitutes won't place you in debt. Aim to endure the odious odour and squelch of humble plasticine, and the whole theatre will applaud your explicit, exquisite grand finale scene. So that's what I'm going to do when the physios contact me on Monday. I'll have my plastic thing and say it hurts here and hurts there. Good. That's afterwards. I'll do another one. I've got one.
Okay, Lorraine, that was lovely.
Otherwise, it doesn't matter.
I enjoyed that. Very amusing. And we'll get to hear in the break how you're getting on with your parking tickets as well, I hope.
So I've got one more. Yes, I'm waiting for the next one. But that's
okay.
So far, so good. Yeah.
Very good. Now we're going to move on to
what I wrote to the London Borough was good. It got me off the hook anyhow.
Very good. Okay, thanks, Lorraine.
You're welcome.
We're going to move on to Alan now. Alan, I see your backdrop is more learned this week. A lovely bookcase there you've got.
No, it's not books. It's DVDs. But there you go.
Okay.
Sorry about the disco lights. Seem to be having a bit of trouble with my monitor.
Right.
This is an historical poem. It's called The Great Fire of London. On the 2nd of September, 1666, Mrs. Gregg, the baker of Pudding Lane, was baking a new range of pies when suddenly the oven got too hot, causing sparks to fly up high. The sparks set fire to surrounding buildings. The flames were carried on the east wind, and before you knew it, the city of London was burning. For the next 3 nights, the flames leapt higher and higher, illuminating the dark night sky. They could be seen for miles around by the poor, the wealthy, and the wise. Efforts to put out the fire quickly failed. Samuel Pepys and John Evelyn diarised the tale. Even King Charles II joined the throng, tossing water from a pail as they tried to create a firebreak, but to no avail. 13,000 dwellings were destroyed, and thankfully only 6 deaths. Sightseers came from all around to see, but only 1/5 of London was left. Come the morning of the 6th, when the fire was finally out, Mrs. Gregg's nephew, who was quite the entrepreneurial type, put the potatoes in the embers to create the first ye oldie spud you like. And this one's called Cluedo. Was it Colonel Mustard in the conservatory with the knife, or Mrs. Peacock in the drawing room with the lead pipe, or Reverend Green in the library with the rope, or Mrs. White with the spanner in the kitchen, or Professor Plum in the dining room with the revolver, or Miss Scarlet in the hall with the candlestick holder? Now they all must do is find the murderer, the weapon, and the room that they hid it. But we all know who's guilty. The butler did it. Thank you.
Is that all for this half, Alan? Are you?
Yeah, that'll do for now, isn't it?
Okay, thank you very much. Very good. Thanks. Many thanks. I wonder if our plague year is going to be followed by a great fire. I hope not, but there we go. Now we've got my dear friend Jack. Good evening, Jack. Classical as ever.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's fine.
Good. I give a poem to the place I live in, which is Whitgift House for old crocs like me. And for the May poem, the Guardian newspaper has done my work for me, because it has come up with a poem which I think is one of the most beautiful, impressive poems that I've ever read. And like all poems, it relies heavily on the musicality of the language. And we're having to cross a border because the original poem is in Russian by a Russian poet who was actually born in Poland. He was also Jewish. And Lorraine, can you help me, please, with the pronunciation of a word? He belongs to a group of poets that I want to explore further, who are called Acmeist. Is that pronounced Acmeist or Asmeist? Is Lorraine there? No. Well,
I don't remember the letters you said just now. You have to. I wasn't.
Okay, Acmeist. Is it Acmeist or Asmeist?
Yeah. Sorry, I can't help you.
There were a group of Russian poets in the early years of the 20th century.
It sounds to me like Acme.
That's what I thought.
Acmeist.
I'd like to know the pronunciation if anybody did know it.
It's based on the word acme, the English word acme, as in the highest point. It would be an acmeist, somebody who seeks the most.
Yeah, that's good reasoning. That's good reasoning. Yes, maybe. Anyway, let's get back because he wrote this. Ossip Mandelstam wrote this poem in 1913. He was in most of his life. He was publishing in magazines which were not allowed under Stalin, and he spent most of his life, poor chap, in Stalin's gulags, along with his poet wife, who was Anna Akhmatova. But I've now ordered the book. The other thing which is remarkable about it is the translator is a man called Reginald Gibbons. He's American, and he's done the impossible. He's got this. He tells us he's got the same meter and rhythm and rhyme in his English language translation as Mandelstam gives us in the original. This is an astonishing achievement. Some of you know the Odyssey of which was translated into English by Robert Fadles, the American poet, and he too did this almost impossible task of getting the same sounds, the same musicality into the English translation. You can get it on through Penguin, read by Ian McKellen, and it's one of my great joys. I play it all the time, like I would play a piece of music, because it is music. Okay,
we have to move on a little bit, Jack. I'm sorry.
Right, I know I've been yakking too much about the introduction, so enough of that. Here goes. It's called What Remains. Yes, bread that's poisoned, and not even one sip of air. How hard it is for the wound of life to be cured. Joseph himself, sold to Egypt as a slave, could not have been more heavily grieved. Then, under the sky swarm of stars, Bedouins come. They quiet their horses, then in turn with eyes closed, each invents some chanted fragment of their day, of epic nothing that only brought them boredom. For among such riders, little's need to inspire in the dunes. One man lost a quiver of arrows, others traded some geldings for a mare. Events are only a mist that thins begins and disappears. But if such songs are sung out to the end with all the heart, with all the breath in the lungs, almost everything vanishes, and what remains is the desert vastness, the stars, the one who sings.
Thank you, Jack. Beautiful poem. Thanks very much.
I much enjoyed that. I like sharing it with anybody, and thank you for your patience listening to it.
I like the lines about the stars. You know, it's wonderful.
I fell in love with the Bedouins. Yes,
yes,
too.
Yeah.
It's the musicale again. Isn't it? Then under the sky swarm of stars. Bedouin.
Yes, lovely, wonderful. Anyway, I'll have to move on to Anne now. Sorry, Jack. I need to move on to Anne.
Please.
Okay. Good evening, Anne. You're muted. That's it.
Words and ideas. First, the idea. Words weave their way, ribboning through it, embellish with their wiles, extend it, condense it, words clothing thinking. Or words choke ideas, wending a snail way, rhyming the thinking, suffocating too much. Words can kill thoughts. Because I haven't been able to go away for ages, I dug up a poem called Li Qiang, The Pearl River. It is dark and silent, but clear and shallow. Silky folds of water follow the boat as we slip past mysterious caves, the steeply pointed hills, fishing villages with bamboo rafts, and washerwomen at work. The fishermen wear pointed hats, echoing the mountains, and use cormorants. Flocks of white ducks crowd the water's edge, unaware of the brown eagles circling above them. The mountains ahead are blanketed in mist. The nearer horizon outlines feather-topped bamboo and early catkins. Colour and sound are muted, barely even pastel in tone. Occasional rafts pass by delivering goods, travelling quietly, using punt poles. Water buffalo graze or swim, watched by the farmers. We could live here, gently renewing our spirits, but we slip past, storing the river in memory like a faded photograph.
Wow. Who needs to travel to China when you're going to hear a poem like that, Anne? Thank you very much.
We have
Beautiful.
to go first.
Well, it's a beautiful poem. Wonderful. Lovely words. Thank you. Now I'm going to move on to Gina. Gina, can everyone unmute and give Gina a big clap in, please?
Thanks, guys.
Right, welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, this week I've just been looking at doing portraits of family members. So I just find it. Hang on. I don't know what I've done with my glasses. I was having a moment earlier and thought, have I put them on my head or something? 'Cause they've gone for a walk. But anyway. Okay, so this one's just a bit of fun. It's called My Mum's Bum. Mum's bum is legendary. The Nathan bottom is hereditary. Passed down my nan, my mum to me. Good for dancing, a cushion for sitting, though when it comes to my mum, it's best at moving furniture. It'll barge you out the way, you better not stand still. Bouncing up the stairs, it wedges the door open. Don't look up, you'll see the gap as the trousers escape. Even they've given up trying to cover her vast expanse of squishy bits. I look down embarrassed. A force of nature, it stops at nothing. Bending and fixing, tidying and lifting, it has no time. A powerhouse, it could lift a car if we were trapped underneath. A reservoir to walk for miles, it carries me from home to home. I've moved so many times and think about the days to come when it has to slow down. Will I have the strength then? And as she bends down, I look up, no longer embarrassed, proud. I tell her, leave that, Mum. Come dance with me instead.
Oh, wow, Gina, that's real poetry. Thank you. Have you got another one for us?
Yeah, I've got let me have a look. Yeah, hang on. I've got another one here. Okay. So this one was about Nana. Okay. Nana was a dancing queen, cowboy boots in a red glossy kitchen, a bobbing duck on a coffin, a saucy Doris Day. Feminine, tiny and blonde, cogs were beneath the pink and fluffy. You left Dad behind with a man who wouldn't buy a washing machine. Now you've left him again, you've left me too. I should have said bye better in a crowded room of fluffy friends. A lone skinny grey cat, the last of a quartet. I saw your eyes, fear imprinted. You knew this would be the last time. Why did I tell you to eat jello and that it would be okay? I should have snuck you out to the beach, told you you were brave. You knew it was coming. Before, you gave me money, hiding in corners from the prying eyes of the man you love. The man who gave all your things away. Your granddaughter has only your photo and her memories. Should I have put up a fight to keep more of you here? But what difference does it make when I can't find you anymore? You would have liked to meet my daughter. She has your name and likes to twirl. She even likes cats, but not me. They always made me and Dad sneeze. The black cat of a witch, the mystery and the magic. I wonder, did he really love you? Smoke and mirrors, mud and bogs, caravan sites and shooting. The boredom and the drudgery of jokes told again and again. 2 weddings with pink flowers, both brides doomed, a death and a living death. I spent your money on a bedshed with a monster. I hope you didn't see that part, watching over me. A gardener remembers you in the garden, but for me, I'll always remember you, Doris Day beside the sea.
Wow, Gina, just keep writing poems like that. You won't go far wrong. Wonderful, thank you. That's real poetry. And here's someone else who writes about families and always writes real, keeps it real. My dear friend Ted. Good evening, Ted. Can you unmute?
Hello, hello. Where have you gone?
Can only see half of you, Ted.
I can, yeah, okay. I can hear all of you. Can you hear?
Yeah.
Hear me?
Yeah.
Hard luck. Hard luck. I found that wonderful book that I've never published called The Backs of Shops and Houses. As I thought it was gone and lost. Anyway, Paradise Gardens. Oh, I wanted to ask Gina something, but I daren't now.
No, go on. He's allowed, isn't he?
Shows your bum. Stand up and shows your bum.
No.
Ted, very naughty.
I think that's probably not allowed, Ted, but carry on.
No, is it? No, no. I thought that's why I should have bought it.
Just have to take my word for it, Ted.
With your skirt on, I mean, or your jeans on or whatever. But... Anyway, Paradise Gardens. Fingers of the morning creep across the rooftops, bringing daybreak round the chimneys, sliding up the stairways. waking sleeping bodies from their beds. Tread softly through the garden where dreams of cultivation are extended into farmlands or to Kew. Jinx gently over Wembley, it might have been the Oval or Wimbledon, where games make children adults and turn adults back to children once again. Past the pond of fantasy and the children's nursery, where rhymes are read to babies on the grass, climbs the sculptured statue reminiscent of Picasso and homemade hands of Rodin on the fence. Round the garden Barbie, they are very arty at the recent party and bragged about the extensions, but forgot about the dilapidated shed. They fled. The fingers of the morning wake their expectations as they dawdle down the stairs to dull electric light. Outside, the booming traffic, the shrill of economics, the shudder of machines on factory floors that turn back gardens into family paradise. There you go. I didn't know I wrote so many tongue twisters in that. Right. Do you want to risk another one?
Yes, please, Ted.
Aren't you talking to me? Have I stunned you all with my...
Yes, please, Ted.
Oh, I can't hear you. Right, here we go. We'll try this. Rooftop internet. Along the terraced houses... Along the terrace, houses form a circle surrounding gardens. From yellow stock extensions, terracotta soldier bricks shine over arched openings and blind windows stare out vacantly. But eyes with slated eyelids observe the rolling seasons, changes on the land and personnel, and doorways talk up information from the side. From rooftops, news is shouted from houses, shops, offices and factories into villages and into towns, to cities round the country and overseas who quickly pass their information back. So when they say it's in the air, it's true. So beware your infidelities, indiscretions, because when you think no one is watching, they are. That's your lot.
Well done, Ted.
Well done, mate.
Now we're going to move on to the very smart, suave, beard-trimmed Peter. Good evening, Peter.
Yes, he does look rather posh, doesn't he? Right,
He does.
As I was saying earlier on, when I went to the barbers on Thursday, they took a before and after photo of me.
Did they have to get someone into with some big sacks to kind of clear the floor?
Well, it started off with a strimmer, so. Right, I'm going to read a couple of poems by John Clare. May. The sunshine bathes in clouds of many hues, and morning's feet are gemmed with early dews. Warm daffodils about the garden beds peep through their pale slim leaves, their golden heads. Sweet earthly sons of spring. The goslin broods in coats of sunny green about the road waddle in ecstasy. And in rich moods the old hen leads her flickering chicks abroad, oft scuttling neath her wings to see see the kite hang wavering o'er them in the spring's blue light. The sparrows round their new nest chirp with glee, and sweet the robin spring's young luxury shares, tutling its song in feathery gooseberry tree, while watching worms the gardener's spade unbears. Wood pictures in spring. The rich brown umber hue the oaks unfold when spring's young sunshine bathes their trunks in gold, so rich, so beautiful, so past the power of words to paint. My heart aches for the dower the pencil gives to soften and infuse the brown luxuriance of unfolding hues this living, luscious, tinting woodlands give into a landscape that might breathe and live. And this old gate that claps against the tree, the entrance of spring's paradise should be. yet paint itself with living nature fails. The sunshine threading through these broken rails in mellow shades, no pencil e'er conveys, and mind alone feels fancies and portrays.
Well, it's wonderful, Peter. It's really put me in quite a mellow mood. Thank you. Wonderful. I can't follow a nature poem. I can't follow on with a nature poem after John Clare. So I'm going to go down the route of a couple of love poems, very short love poems. Bittersweet. The first one's more bitter. The second one is quite sweet. Okay. Time stands still. An empty room, a broken clock face, a time together broken. We tried to zoom through cyberspace, but that link was just a token of all that ought to be, forlorn as this bare floorboard room and the mildew on the wall. That's all that's left of you and me, lodged in the thoughts we hoard, yet we still wait each call, a hope the phone rings soon to fill the empty room with us two used to be's, yet even memories will never replace a loving embrace. That's the bittersweet one. Now I'm coming on to the sweet one. These are all true things, by the way. What a reception. We went to a wedding reception with no sign of the bride or a groom, just dirty plates and wine-stained glasses and an empty youth club room. Che Guevara on the wall yelled protest to the death withholding streets. We guessed the long-honored couple would be in a hotel in their bedroom sheets. That left us forlorn with our token, plus obligatory wedding card, wishing their lives together be as easy as ours apart had been hard. The caretaker said, "I'm sorry, you were obviously told the wrong time." We walked home hand in hand in the moonlight, feeling complete and sublime. There we go, boom, boom. Right, first off, I've really enjoyed this. Well, we can all unmute and chat now. So,
I thought what I would do is I've never done this before, but George, you missed the last session. Yeah,
I did.
So I thought I would, for you and others that haven't heard this, I thought I'd recite the one I did a couple of weeks ago. The background to this one, George, is it's the 1930s, and it's a sort of just a quick look at the various social classes and the challenges they've got. But there's one common denominator between them all, and that is that they all love 1930s dance band music. You with me? And what I decided to do, but you'll pick them out. If you are reading this in hard copy, I've got 10 song titles. I started off to try to hide them into the text, but to be honest with you, some of them stick out like a mile. So you'll see you can spot them. It's 10 song titles within this 5-6 verses. It's called My Hat's on the Side of My Head. The wireless is on. The dance band are playing in the living room of this working class home. Alfie has left the docks and arrived home for the evening. Annie has supper on its way, but there's just enough time for a dance with her beloved. Love is the sweetest thing. Arm in arm, they enter another world to the rhythm of the 1930s. Times are hard, but blue skies are around the corner. The wireless is on. The dance band are playing in the lounge of this middle-class home down Sunnyside Lane. George has arrived home from banking in the city. Emily has kept the weeds at bay and tended the rose garden. There is plenty of time to dance on the patio. In the distance, the band are playing You'll Be Mine in Apple Blossom Time. The wireless is on. The news is being read in the drawing room of this upper-class home. Henry has arrived home from his board meeting. Virginia has completed her charity work for the day. A pick-me-up is needed, for the stock market declines. but their minds switch off from their pennies from heaven as a dance band starts playing their song on the wireless. Love is good for anything that ails you. The wireless is on, the news is being read in the library of this aristocratic home. Edward and Elizabeth long for the good old times, cocktails at the Savoy, hopping to the dance orchestra, playing anything goes. But their estate is on the decline, a theme park is planned. They pray that happy days are here again soon and that it's a lovely day tomorrow. And so the cycle of life goes round and round. The girls wash their hair on Friday night, then set off to cinema dates, their hearts in flight, where boy meets girl and falls head over heels, which leads him to sing on the bus homeward bound, my hat's on the side of my head. That's it, George.
Very retro, Norman. Thank you. Have you got another one for us?
Hey, no, I'll leave it at that, I think.
Okay. We've lost Ruth, I think, which brings us round to Jim. Jim.
Hi, I'm going to read a poem. I can't explain this actually, but no, the poem is called In the Frame, or it's really about lists of horses' names. When you go into a betting shop, you see them all one beneath the other. And the names are often quite extraordinary. So I'm just going to go into another thing to sort of get the print. I'm going to read it from you. You'll just see my face, but I'm actually reading from an email. Right. In the frame, equine fever. Your eye is cheap down the pan. Out quick the booze, dipsomaniac cabin cruise. Bram Stoker, phony Blair, liar's poker, can the can. Off the course, 'tis pity she's a horse. Magellan straight, Vasco's pajamas. Walter's mare, totally bonkers. On the Mator Pier, she stoops for conkers. Scooby-Doo, round the bend. Wop bopaloo bop, Howard's End. Walt Whitman, Ecce Homo, Howard Shipman, no. Happy, clappy, cheeky, chappy, tell it straight, tell it slant. Theresa May, Corbyn can't. Arsenal fan also ran, clap one hand, World Cup fever, bleating, cheating, all those maybes, women shrieking, loved it too much, baby. Tightrope clown, don't look down, vertigo, end of show. Yes, it's quite odd actually, because I'm reading from my emails, and you just see a picture and you don't sort of realize I don't see it all, I'm just reading. Yeah, it's quite interesting technology. I'm sure Mohammed would have fitted Boris Bonkers or Bonkers Boris into that list somewhere. Yep. But have you got another one for us, Jim? No, that's it. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. It's very, very amusing. Thank you. Jane, have you any for us, Jane? Good evening again. Still muted, Jane.
I'm muted,
That's
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, now, yes, I'm going to read two poems from my book called Praise Songs, where I've got poems about England, which is my home now, and Dominica, where I was born. So Dominica is called the nature island of the Caribbean. So two of them will fit into that. And nature is not always a happy thing. Nature is beautiful, but not always happy, as in dead crab on the Antrim Road, because I normally go for walks, early morning walks when I'm down in Dominica. A one-armed crab lies broken on the Antrim Road, its soft white flesh exposed. Down there with the tar mark, it is alas too late for this late crustacean, which cannot see, cannot hear, could not crawl away into the safety of long grass. On one side of the road, jutting from a cliff top, the tawny face of a jagged rock overhangs. On the other side, in a deep, dark crevice, a baby waterfall hisses at intervals. A thundering motor car thumps past. Meanwhile, a small army of ants have gathered to perform the hypnotic vulture's dance upon the carcass. And with what surprising ease, life carries on. So nobody's weeping for the dead crab. But I felt quite sorry that morning. I felt sorry to see the crab lying there, you know. Anyway, this one's called Journey to Victoria Falls. If you want to lie on sand, sea sand all day, Barbados and Antigua are well known, but Dominica is called the nature island of the Caribbean. So it's very good for hiking up to waterfalls, to boiling lakes and freshwater lakes. This is called Journey to Victoria Falls. Before you journey to Victoria, or you'll hear some Creole, French Creole words, just ignore it. I mean, it'll fit in somehow, even if you don't quite understand what they mean. Before you journey to Victoria Falls, pay homage at the gateway, Font-Touffet. This valley, coaxed into life by Papa Bois, Mama Glow, and Mountain Mist, exists both to enchant and make you drunk on fresh air as pure as morning dew. Should you journey to Victoria Falls, take off your shoes. Approach with care the White River, with its slippery stones and sulfurous opaqueness. Be prepared for immersion, if not baptism, in waters that won't hold still, to aid your many crossings. It's best to travel light. You'll need your hands to grip, your toes to feel your way around the blind spots and treacherous rocks. When journeying to Victoria Falls, you'll wend your way through twisting tracks where the Balisier and Chatonnier hold sway, never bowed, though bowing to the stillness of this lushly virgin spot. Should you decide to go barefoot, beware the flowers of the Chatonnier, deadly porcupines you would be ill-advised to tread on. Heed too the sleeping tree stumps, camouflage as spongy carpets of vegetation in decay. If you go to Victoria Falls, go armed with infinite resolve to embrace the ways of a bygone age, with no sneaking thoughts of cast iron bridges or aerial trams. Let the spirit of adventure reign, thus leaving pilgrimage its sacrificial pain. On your trek up to Victoria Falls, do persevere, for soon enough the sound of Té Tremblay, that spot where the ground is said to tremble, will be sweet music, heralding the prize, your goal. Yes, you will have made it to Victoria Falls. Exalted, excited, elated, while inwardly prostrate as you crane ever upwards to behold Victoria in all her ferocious majesty, relentless, thundering beauty, veritable belle dame sans merci, tumbling gallon after luminous gallon from her cavernous orifice into the swirling embrace of the petulant White River.
That's great, Jane. Thank you. I think people really were there with you. Wonderful.
Yes.
It was so
You must
lush.
visit Dominica. You'd enjoy it.
Yeah.
You would.
When you were reading, I was
You'd
thinking
enjoy
of
the
St.
wildness.
I was thinking of St. Vincent and the volcano. You know, the Caribbean is such extremes, isn't it? You've got hurricane season that can destroy everything. Volcanoes.
Absolutely, yes. We've got volcanoes as well. The same
Yes.
name. Yeah. So everyone keeps their fingers crossed because you get the rumblings from the boiling lake occasionally.
I'm sure,
quite scary, but fascinating. Yes.
Yeah.
So welcome to Dominica, the nature isle of the Caribbean. Anytime, we'll welcome you.
I'd love to go again, Jane. It's a beautiful
But I'm
island.
in London now. I'm no longer in Dominica. I'm in London.
No, you had your enforced stay for a year, didn't you, due to COVID?
Yes, definitely. But I was missing home, missing all of
I know, we could tell that when you Zoomed us. Anyway, we're going to move on to Martin. Martin, good evening again.
Good evening again.
Yes.
That was very interesting. Anyway, I'm going to read a couple. This is a pair of sonnets called Towards Understanding Suffering, and there's a biblical quotation. Again, I saw all the oppressions that are done under the sun, And behold, the tears of the oppressed, and they had no one to comfort them. On the side of their oppressors was power, and there was no one to comfort them. That's from Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 1. Unlike our Maker, our compassion fails. We are subjective, self-absorbed, and know too little of all lives outside our own. We need immediacy. When someone wails on distant shores, we barely hear, and so cannot connect or empathize. Sown on random winds, their cries are dissipated. And yet we dare to put God in the dock. Can we invoke his name, whose voice of love we have ignored? He who has created us remains our only hope, the rock on which the wisest always built, who strove in vain to understand his ways, but yet were never shaken, moved, or knew regret. 2. And still the world revolves, and suffering continues unabated, unexplained. Were we not warned of troubles to the end? And man's rebellion must always bring his wrath, whose gracious words have been disdained. This earth is cursed until when Christ will rend the heavens and return in triumph. Then true justice will prevail. The righteous shine like stars, united with their Saviour, who will reign forever. His enemies, or men who hated him, he will at last consign to deepest darkness. Earth and heaven new and everlasting, paradise regained. No pain, no sin, all mysteries explained.
Wow, thank you, Martin. Have you got another? Can you possibly follow that?
This is completely different. This is a translation of Paul Verlaine, French. Monsieur Prudhomme. So grave, his mare and par at home, you know. His collar swallows his ears. His eyes, floating in an endless reverie, arise as spring flowers on his slippers glow. Did he make the gold star and trim the hedge where birds sing in shade and the skies, lush green meadows and the silent lawns? Monsieur Prudhomme dreams of his daughter's pledge to marry Machin, a well-set-up young man. He's contented, a botanist, also spick and span. As for those worthless scamps, verse spinners, lazy, unkempt, bearded, them he holds as much in horror as his endless colds, and spring in flowers still glows on his slippers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks very much. Lovely. Steve, Juna, Steve, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Right. Yes, hear you fine.
Okay. This one's called vaccine. The vaccine that we have for coronavirus is simply the great wonder of scientific research and immense tackling. I was so indebted to the great scientists who have brought around a vaccine that is having so many positive effects. This tells me of a society who has over the years found cures for penicillin, measles, and cholera. In these modern day times where medicine plays a big part in overcoming various diseases, I am so happy that with the death rate of corona-19 now slowing down, the great scientists, professors in universities has once again demonstrated the great and skillful minds of this nation. And this one is called My Job. My job as an archivist with the Met has seen me climb many rungs of the ladder. Initially, when I first started, I was helped along with a support worker and then left to carry out the duties. In my role, I have been promoted from a G band to F band, which underlines the hard work and effort. When I confess, it has not been easy with a wife and a son to support. I value myself as a person who has fought under tremendous audacity and grit. I appreciate my friends in the poetry group. Poetry has given me a medium to express myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. You've got this honesty about very honest about the way you write. So thank you very much for that. Thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Now, I'm going to move over to the Isle of Wight and speak to my friend, Mr. Rushton.
Yes. Yeah, all the poems tonight are on Ovid. Ovid was exiled to a place called Constanta in Romania. So imagine Blackpool on the Black Sea. So I've written this poem because I went there and imagined seeing Ovid in the urban streets. And Constanta's old name was Thomas, the kind of ancient Greek name for the city. In modern Thomas, I see Ovid standing in the supermarket looking for the olive oil. In modern Thomas, I see Ovid sitting in a stripy deck chair in the latest beachwear style. In modern Thomas, I see Ovid hiding in the shadow of his statue in the urban square. In modern Thomas, I see Ovid over there, surrounded by old reinforced but only just dilapidated concrete. Yes, in modern Thomas, I see Ovid. And the next two poems at the beginning of this collection, and just introduce them really, because the collection is based on two people who translated Ovid, Christopher Marlowe, the famous playwright, and the poet John Dryden. So these are just kind of introductory poems, but they kind of introduce a rhythm and keywords to the collection. So that makes some sort of sense anyway. Form and subject perfectly wed, notes in verse on verse in bed instead of war. These elegies of love and sex have many partners. For starters, we have Ovid instigating these adventures, then to English poets who translated Ovid in their ways, and notes will now compare these ways to see if they embody Ovid in their verse or this in verse, their elements. These three practitioners of art. Keywords: Ovid, Dryden, Marlowe, exile, ambuscade, and murder. Covent Garden, Deptford, Thomas, ancient Rome, Augustus Caesar, ego, hubris, risk, and Cupid, lovers, lust, adultery, and Latin law, interpretation, opposition, inspiration, Ted Hughes, Yorkshire, boring bastard, sex, translation, love, transition, son, disgraceful, dull opinion, self-indulgence, deference, amoris, vita, meter, verse. Thank you.
The musicality, Steve, of your poems. Yeah, beautiful rhythm.
I have.
I don't think there's any tunes in there, but as a drummer, I'm always tone deaf, so the rhythm.
It comes as brilliant. Yeah.
Have you got? You said you had a third one, didn't you, Steve?
That was three, George. Actually.
Oh my gosh! I must have merged into. You must have lulled me with your rhythms. So sorry. Oh dear, crawls away in embarrassment. Now, here's someone who's going to cheer me up and get me over my embarrassment. Is Mohammed.
Hello. Cheer up, George.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, so this is from Read Me Out Loud, a poem a day. So today is the 7th of May. The poem for today is You Are Special by Chris Ambro. You are special. You are more special than a sunrise or a mountain covered in snow. You're more special than the most important secret you could know. You're more special than the winning goal in the last minute of the match. More wonderful than a winning serve or a fielder's diving catch. You're more fantastic than a musical that makes the whole world sing. More special than a chocolate cake with double chocolate icing. You're more important than the last panda or gorilla left on Earth, than an eagle or a peacock. Just see how much you're worth. You are more beautiful than emeralds, more wonderful than gold. You're more special than the most exciting story ever told. You're not an accident or a burden or a terrible mistake. You're special, you're original, you're the best thing God could make.
Well, whoever that was written for must be on cloud nine.
Yeah, he seems to be, he's on Twitter. I think he's a cartoonist as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Is that it? Another one for us?
Yeah, I've got a couple more.
Okay.
More.
Right.
Yeah. So this is McCartney's 7 Levels. He had an inspiration one night. He said, "Mystery of the world, the solution is 7. There are 7 levels."
Right.
I wrote it. And I just suddenly realized that if I read it from the bottom to the top, it also makes sense. I'm just going to do that. There are some hells too, waiting to tear your comforts to little shreds. There are places in the mind and blue earth where bliss may find you. All the fondness for a bit of labor, relief from the snobs. Walking behind her, we recalled work ethics we came up with. The May Queen once led a parade to bliss and never tired. There are 7 different stages to heaven, all perfection. McCartney's 7 Levels.
Right.
Okay. All right. And the last one is late as cats, eager as ducks. I'm going into my old age. I think I'm going to die. I'm late as cats, earnest as ducks that beat hard their wings high. I'm looking at wilting, twisty trees, old and gnarled, never spry. I'm late as tabbies, keen as ducks. To life I'll give the lie. I'm done with my young years, bucks and desh and skies. I'm late as toms, eager as ducks. My smile is even, wry. I'm going to hobble and trip, bowed with a croak that's nigh. I'm late as cats, focused like ducks, but I'm headed for the dirt sty. I'm not looking for youth, dears, for that I do not care. I'm late as cats, eager as ducks, so sold ducks chairs.
Right. I had a bit of sound problem there, but it sounded, most of it I caught, Mohammed, but lovely poem. Thank you. Very uplifting.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Right. So who we got now? Lovely Lorraine. Hello, Lorraine.
Lovely. Right. Yes, this is a bit rough around the edges because I only wrote it this afternoon. And I think people shouldn't have sorted out Carrie Simmons just for her preferences and choices. Anyhow, this is called Did You Point Your Finger? So it reads, did you point your finger? Were you the mudslinger when Carrie Simmons aired the furnishings she abhors? You could have shown some deference for Bojo's partner's preference for the lavish lumps of Louis XIV. Theresa May might have favoured antique 19th century chinoiserie bamboo, but her election votes she knew would be few. A new crew would move in, she construe, and rue. Facing eviction, John Lewis might just as well have to do. Could be Carrie's sights soar ever higher, even though her number 10 tenure might expire. Clean, pure Nordic lines smack of revered IKEA, albeit Bojo's hand at DIY is a tad cavalier. Be kind, ditch the flack, cut Carrie some slack. She's probably coy, shuns the whole hoi polloi, swanning around the shores of Lake Como. Rivals, each faucet flaunting their kingly to slight cash flow. A unique and exclusive break would lure number 10's flat high flyers. They'd covet the Element Palazzo camper van with Volvo chassis, engine and tyres. Scottish farms, of course, offer majestic scenes till the paparazzi storm the refuge. Privacies only in the Tories' NHS Brexit red bus, hired out as a holiday stooge. So that's what I think could happen.
They don't get away with much with you, do they, Lorraine? Nice one.
But I'll work on it anyhow.
Yeah, very, very funny. Very thanks very much. Clever. So we better move on now to Alan. Alan.
Right there.
Yeah.
I'm a member of Tate, and it was a few years ago. I went to several exhibitions, and each time I went, they had this major exhibition of basically old engineering equipment. And each time I went, I found it more and more fascinating, and it sort of evoked some memories in me. And it was entitled The Asset Stripper. A sculptural exhibition with no Rodin or Michelangelo. It is machinery from the heavy industry from 80 plus years ago. Milling machines, drills and lathes, knitting machines and bobbins, jigs and hoists and chains, scales for boulder weighing, tractors with threshing wheels, cement mixers and ramps, old bolts and spanners, vices, pipes and clamps, reclaimed doors for the entrance from decaying factories, when opened reveal a snapshot of a dead industry. The smell of war, swarth and metal, oil and rust show a strange beauty, jogging our memories of how things used to be. The asset stripper has preserved history in his particular way. Sadly, so much has gone, now it's also yesterday. The smell of oil and dust, the swarth like wire wall, took my memories back to the metal workshops when I was at school.
Nice one.
And then this one, this just came about because I think it was something someone said at one of these meetings, and then it sort of conjured up an image in my head, and then a couple of days later I wrote this. It's called Frightened. The light was already fading. It felt oppressive in the room. Outside, the clouds roiled and darkened. The smell of electricity spelled pending doom. The sound of a thunderbolt crackled, lighting up every shadow in the room. She rushed into her kitchen to clear the draining board of every knife and fork and spoon. Immediately, the whole house rattled as overhead the thunderclap boomed. She quickly unplugged the kettle, then rushed to the living room. She cowered in the half-light, a dark shadow hidden in the gloom. She shrunk and squirmed, perspiring, as more thunder boomed. Suddenly, an impatient banging at the door. With trepidation, she left the safety of her room. A silhouette stood backlit by the lightning flash, rain cascading over his body. His arms thrust forward, she stepped back and caught herself from a swoon. It was only her pizza being delivered by the man from Deliveroo.
Oh, nice one, Alan. You took us there, and you spared us at the end. I thought Satan was at the door or something. Yeah. Anyway.
Hello, George, it's Jack. I got absolutely cut off. I've just managed to get back on.
Oh dear, I'm sorry about that, Jack. You just missed Alan wrote two very good poems, but welcome back, Jack. And actually it's your turn now. So you're on. Yes.
Well, just a bit of fun. It's a little prompt I got from somebody, people not turning up at weddings. And I remembered I'm writing a piece called Songs My Mother Taught Me. She didn't exactly teach them to me. She used to sing them as she was cleaning up. And they came into my head and have stayed with me ever since. And this is an old music hall number, believe it or not. Used to be sung by Lily Morris. You can hear her singing it much better than I'm going to sing it for you now. But it goes like this. Mary Ellen up the church turned up, and her mother turned up, and her dad turned up, and her sister Gert, and her rich Uncle Bert, and the parson in his long white shirt turned up. No bridegroom up the church turned up, but the telegram boy with his nose turned up brought a telegram to say that they wouldn't wed today, and they found him in the river with his toes turned up.
Who says that the age of musical is dead? Well done, Jack.
I enjoyed that. Yeah.
Yeah, you got another one for us, or is this your signing off?
Well, do you want? There is another one because I'm
song. Yeah.
sorry to use the expression, but I'm pissed off with Private Eye. It doesn't get so much as a smile, never mind a laugh out of me these days. So I wrote these few wicked lines.
Okay.
Dear Private Eye is not the sky it used to be in days of foregone austerity. A short, sharp shower might inject some power in the dozy dope, bereft of hopes and structured tropes. Bring back Roland Barthes, whose thoughts are worth your time, mostly because none of them rhyme. So multiply your arts and serve them with some good farts, but avoid the old farts too. Just a way of worrying you. Red sky at night, shepherd's delight. Red sky at morning, shepherd's warning. Cold codger's joke.
So you've given us music, you've given us music hall, and you've given us a 1960s satire. So thank you very much, Jack. Lovely. So can we go to Anne now? Good evening, Anne, again.
This is a poem I wrote for my father when he was 92.
Ah, good.
I'll tell you what it is. Old people sometimes shrink and are so wizened, mind and body, that it seems they can no longer be who they once were. It is impossible to see them in the mind's eye heading the table at Christmas, or being the life and soul of any gathering, or engaging us with a joke or a philosophical discussion. It's often our own fear that we shan't be seen anymore as an individual, unique in loving and laughter. But my father has not shrunk, and he has not diminished. He is more than the sum of his own disabilities. It is hard for him to be deaf and not able to walk much, leave alone for him to forget his words, who was always so quick with the mot juste. And it's hard on us, but only because we can see how much he cares about these changes. But he is still who he was, can still be contentious, be funny and amused, irascible, cantankerous, as the whim takes him. He gives his family hope that they too will not dwindle into anonymity. He is indomitable and frail, and still and always he is himself.
Lovely, very moving, Anne. Very moving. Have you got another one for us? Or
Yes, very quick one. It's
Thank
called
you.
My Private Bling. I am festooned with poems. Violets twinkle in my ears. Sonnets sparkle round my wrists. On my fingers, jeweled haikus shine. And the lay of verses, this anthology around my neck, makes a multicolored aloha. I am festooned with poems. Invest.
Thank you, Anne. Lovely. Beautiful. Gina, have you any more in your little stock of poems there, please? You're muted. That's it.
Yeah. I'm listening. I can't get the video. Let's try this one. Hang on. Where's it gone? Okay. I've never been to Ireland to dance a spontaneous jig in a tavern, get trapped under a leprechaun mound, drink Guinness with a foam moustache, or listen to an old man singing a sad song. I've never been to Glastonbury, glitter-cheeked and rainbow-haired, dirty tents and littered cardboard, mud, wellies, sweat in shorts. Crammed into a pulsing crowd, a speck blurs on the horizon. I've never been to Senegal, to hear mosques call out above the crashing waves on warm sand, Fires lit on the beach as boys play football in bare feet, sipping from Coke cans, black on gold. I've never been, but I don't want to. Let me visit in my mind where it is warm and colourful. I've never been, but I have often been to disappointment.
Lovely. Thank you. Have you got another one for us?
Or, I don't know. This is one of the first ones I wrote, so I don't know. Let me see. Okay. It's called Baby Clothes. Knit one, purl one. I looked down at the matching set that Bubba made for you. How small you were. Oh, hang on, it's gone. 1 second. How small you were, not pink or blue, but yellow. Should I keep it? No. What use is it to remind me of how small you were? Keep this one to remind me of how much you've grown. Just us two knitted together. Maybe it's enough. I pack it away in a box. Knit one, purl one. Maybe you can use it again. A bubba, I'll give it to you. Until then, will you keep it? Not pink or blue, but yellow.
Lovely. Baby clothes. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ted.
George, can I just
Yeah,
ask you something?
Sure.
Is there anywhere like I can see people's poems written down, or?
Yeah, well, some of us. Well, we have a website, Poets Anonymous. It's on Facebook. If you go onto Facebook and type in Poets Anonymous,
yeah,
you'll find us. Okay. I mean, some of us posted on there. Some of us haven't. I went through a period where Anne's posted some, Ted occasionally. I used to post quite a lot. A few of us have written some books. So, you know, anyway, maybe if you stick around, I can tell you more later.
okay, yeah, I just heard some things that I liked, and I was just like, but I just wanted to like see it because.
Yeah, I mean, Ruth's written some superb books, you know, and so has Martin, actually. There's a few of us have written books. Anne's written books. Jane's written books. Ted has kind of written a book.
I'm going to read. I'm going to read from it.
He's threatening to.
Gina,
write another one.
I've been threatening for about 10 years to publish this, and I still haven't.
Get on with it, Ted. Get on with it.
Yeah, Gina, I think you're looking for info on where to send poems. Is that correct?
No, to read them.
No, but
earlier.
You could tell me about that as well.
Well, if you contact
earlier, yeah, I was.
If you contact the Poetry Library,
yeah,
they used to print a list. They most probably got it on their website.
They've got it on their website. They can send it.
Yeah, go to the Poetry Library website, and they will have a list of all the publications, or most of the publications, are small magazine publications around the country.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And
okay.
Are you just wanting to see this link here? I mean, do you want to sort of get the link to watch this program that you've just been taking part in? Is that what you're wanting?
No, I just would have found it helpful because I've heard things, but then it's gone in a second, and I just kind of wanted a bit more time to like just see it in front of me, you know,
absolutely,
I understand that. Yeah. Well, we are a pretty boring lot, and we do get to repeat our poems sometimes. So if you attend often enough, I'm sorry they get recycled. Anyway, talking about repeating poems, Ted, have you got anything?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I like the way you line me up for that. A repeat of many poems. Right. This could be almost for Mohammed. Anyway, it's called Two Restaurants. Between the ventilators and the patchwork whitewashed fence, waiters congregate counting up odd pence in tips, and smoke in the grandiose opulence of the stub of a chopped down tree that is both seat and table for resting hard-earned drinks. In a ground of broken concrete that shows no maintenance, they speak Serbo-Croat, Bulgarian, Polish English and Turkish English from the boss, celebrating the end of Ramadan. There is juice in every hand, and they all understand that this is an occasion, and they will stand around and cheer with a lady who brings her children with shopping and her baby in a pram. They play a game of betting that customers will eat, so we try something we know that they do not serve. Tanju is not sure if he has won the bet. Some plan to take their children to Medina, but not when it is Hajj. It is too overcrowded and the children are too young. Besides this sacred pilgrimage, they will form bonds with people they will meet. Inside each restaurant, waiters wearing stripes write up tomorrow's special. Spaghetti bolognese on PC standard whiteboard, £4.50. On chalkboards, £7 a head. There you go. That's it.
Thank you, Ted. There is no better poet sometimes of multicultural London than my friend Ted Smith Hall. So there you go.
Ski.
Yes. Now we're coming on to Peter.
Hooray!
Yes.
I'm going to read a poem by Ivor Gurney from about 1919.
Right.
The poem Thoughts. Soon the branches all will crowd with blossom. Soon hedges be flooded with foam of May. And the late wanderer under a sickle moon, the nightingale shall hear till first of day. And I away, and my love far away. She walks where snows etern. I the uncomforting squares of that great city where Paul thrusts high, huge sign of power, gulls float and squawk, cranes swing, masses of steel like arms against the sky. Why these I love, and she holds dear those hills, but oh for the small hedge-sheltered lanes, and oh for daisy fields and dancing daffodils, good lands where friends of mine earth tenders go, and spring sets earth aglow with tender thrills. That's Ivor Gurney.
There's lovely for you, Peter.
No, it wasn't
very
Welsh.
nice. No, he wasn't Welsh, but the daffodils took me there. I'm half Welsh. This half is Welsh. This half is English. So anyway, is you another one for us, or is this it? Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, I've got two poems, and one's a bit political, the first one, and one's about my mum, the second one. So the first one's called Some Requests. Please let me feel free to criticize the robbery of land on the west bank of the Jordan without calling me anti-Semitic. Please let me be free to condemn the genocide of the Rohingyas without considering me anti-Buddhist. Please let me feel free to stand against the theft of the Crimea and not be called anti-Russian. Please let me be free to say, don't sell arms for slaughter in Sana'a without being labeled a pacifist. Please let me feel free to continue being a European without being called a Ramona. Please let me be free to carry on loathing those who build walls to insulate wealth without calling me a commie. Please let me be free to vomit over stoning and beheading those with different beliefs without calling me an unbeliever. Please let me be free to condemn leaders taking us in wrong directions without calling me an anarchist. But most of all, please let suffering people be free. That's that one. And then the last one about my mum in the war, I called it My World Theme, Where I'm Coming From. Maybe I knew her questing soul more than some, knowing beneath big aprons and gaudy headscarves existed an exploring heart and sharp mind to guide her without the lessons I took or the books I read, shaping her to the knowledge of all being worthwhile. Skin, country, class or creed counting for nothing for this Cockney girl of Cockney parents. From what soil did this understanding grow? Not from books that a girl with no shoes went without, not from service at 14 for this parlour maid on 17 shillings and sixpence a week plus keep, where hours exceeded daylight most of the year, who would say, apropos of nothing, ain't it bleeding terrible what they did to Jesus, banging all those nails in his hands and feet? What did he do to deserve that? All this said without crossing a lich gate. And her trundling the huge black lacquered pram past the broken houses, through the bricks and dust, to the venom of London ladies entitledly shouting, your babies are war fodder, why have them? And her being too polite to say bugger off, but thinking just that, she told me years later, when she thought I should hear such words, and her going back to her flat with the ledge by the front door, where the pepper pot and knife stood, ready for the Germans, while treating all the stray cats to plates full of whiting that arrived as miraculously as loaves and fishes. I see her now, white-haired and 80, in the bed on the ward, still no pushover. Mrs. Wright, I'm afraid you've got a bad hernia. I can't have her response. I've never been with anyone, only my husband. The doctor, smiling, said, but your heart's okay. And I could reply with pride, yes, doctor, you can't break gold. And oh, how I'd wish she'd read this. Okay, thank you. There we go. So it's been a lovely evening, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.